This is our next lesson on crime and deviance. We're now going to start looking at the various ideas, the various theories as why do people commit crime. It's a big deal. In the book, we're on page 102, 103. Yet before we even start, crime and deviance, to a sociologist, some people at least, makes little sense. If culture's so powerful and society is so powerful, there should be no crime. And yet there's plenty of crime, so it needs a lot of explanation. In this first lesson, we're going to look at some of the non-sociological explanations, because plenty of people have opinions on this, not just sociologists. We understand how sociologists can use these explanations. We get on board with some of them, not others. By doing that, you are thinking like a sociologist. Keywords: genetic predisposition, develop, environment, evolve, biological determinist, impulse control, conformity, psychology, inherited traits, PMT, which means premenstrual tension, maternal deprivation, and primary socialisation. So a genetic predisposition is something in your biology that means you could develop something. So I am 6'3". I became 6'3" because I had a good diet, exercise, etc. I didn't have to be 6'3". I could have been shorter, but I was genetically predisposed to being that tall. Okay? Genetic predisposition. A biological determinist is somebody who says, no, your DNA, your biology is the only thing that counts about what sort of person you're going to be. Conformity, fitting in, obeying the rules. Inherited traits, things you get from your family. I have very similar blue eyes to my father. PMT, what women get before they start their periods. Maternal deprivation, meaning you're deprived of a mother figure during your early childhood. This, if you don't know this by now, you're in big trouble. Okay. It starts off, one, born that way. When people first started looking into the science behind crime, this guy here, Lombroso, came along and he said, you know what? Criminals are born that way. They're different to us. He went to various prisons and he looked at the heads of people and he said, look at them. He said, look at them. They're not as evolved as the rest of us. They're more like monkeys. That's why they're criminals. They're not proper humans. He said he measured the shapes of their heads and they had different shaped heads. They're born that way. This is part of an idea that's become known as biological determinism, meaning you can tell everything you need to know about a person by their DNA, their genes, the shape of their head, etc., etc. This is today discredited, meaning not believed. Not even the most crazed biologist agrees with this today. I used to, not so much anymore. It has developed, though, into something called the nature-nurture argument. And this is where even sociologists agree. It's a mixture. It's genetics plus environment. So you have this DNA, which means you could develop a certain way, as long as you have the environment, meaning the way you've been brought up. So somebody with genetics, that might mean they're going to be a psychopathic murderer, won't become a psychopathic murderer if they're well brought up in a loving family. It's a bit of both. It's the nature, DNA, nurture, upbringing. It's all about potential. We have certain potentials, whether or not you achieve them, for good or ill, depends on your environment, the way you've been brought up. Other explanations? Well, some people say, well, crime is just a form of mental illness. It's impulse control. You want something, the part of your brain that says, don't do it, it's not working, you're mentally ill. Psychopaths are the extreme form of this. So some people say crime is a form of mental illness. Not really sure that's true myself. Some truth in it for some people. PMT, it's been noticed that 80% of the women who are in prison committed the crime for which they are imprisoned just before their periods. So there appears to be some connection here between genetics, hormonal stuff, and females and crime. Most unpleasantly of all, maternal deprivation. There's a theory among psychologists that if you don't have a close, loving relationship with your mother, you will be psychologically damaged by this. You'll be a nutter. This is what causes things like psychopathy, they think. Yeah, if you're deprived of a good maternal relationship, you will do anything for attention, including committing crime. The research was done by these guys here in the States about 50 years ago, a guy called Skinner. And you can see here, he's got the baby monkey, and the baby monkey can have furry mother or wire mother. Furry mother is soft and nurturing and warm, but has no food. Wire mother is hard and cold and unpleasant, but has the milk. The baby monkey then has to choose comfort or life. Of course, it ends up choosing life, and the monkeys are then, as they become adults, really quite psychologically damaged. Yeah, mad monkeys. These guys made mad monkeys. One last bit. In the exam, the examiner wants you to know that there is more than one explanation for the causes of crime. The examiner also wants you to show that you know about explanations of crime that are not sociological. We're going to do lots more work on the sociology of all this in future lessons, but I just want you to know that there are other ways of looking at the same sort of problems.